Oh, now I can't hear you.
There we go. Technical difficulties. I got the recording started and all of a sudden it went away and then it come back and I was muted. So anyway, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm going to be host today on Art Chuck 101. And we have Jeff back on the line with us again. And we're going to catch up on some of the cool things he's got going on. Welcome back, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Roy.
Well, how about if you introduce yourself and then let us know kind of where we was at last time and what we're going to catch up on, and so those may not have caught the last episode that we were on.
Sure. My name's Jeff Battistelli. I've been shooting for a long time, a little over 4 decades now. Started out in the compound world for about the first 8 years or so, and then switched over to traditional longbows, recurves, and self bows. And the last 2 months, I've been shooting a little hybrid longbow that I'm going to be dedicated to, I think, for the next year. I love it. I got it off a friend of mine who's a bowyer, Will Murray, up in Vermont. But I'm pretty involved now in trying to get the 3D back in New England with some friends of mine at the local White Mountain Traditional Bow Hunters Club. We work with other clubs around New England as well, kind of keep our dates square so we don't step on each other's toes. But we do that. We do a little bit of stumping between friends of ours in the wintertime. We all kind of go our separate ways during hunting season. That's pretty much what we're doing. We're just trying to build up the traditional enthusiasm in the community here in New England again, like it used to be back a couple decades ago. And we're doing well with the attendance. We got reports from our clubs and other clubs, obviously, and they said that the numbers are up. One club told us that they had record numbers for several years, and then another told us the same. So that was good to hear. We've been doing some marketing and advertising on Facebook and Instagram to try and get the word out. Eric Arquette and myself, especially, and seems to be working. People are hearing about it and they're coming out to try it and have some fun. We get to meet a lot of new people. I've met a couple dozen, I would say, new people over the past year. Becomes friends, good friends with several of them, and got a planned hunt next month. Through friendships, already went on a hunt with a friend, and so it's great. Just our community is a great community, and it does seem to be building back up in New England. And hopefully, the next couple of years will continue, and we'll get even more people.
Yeah, that's always nice when you can start building it up, and we've talked about this on a couple of other podcasts too, that if you don't have a club or something near you, start one. And
Yep,
you're not the only one that wants to do it. It's just you may not know them yet, but as soon as you start going around and letting people know, and doing Facebook and whatever, and say, hey, hey, if you're in this area, hey, let's get together and do some shooting. And it starts off with two people and three and four. Next thing you know, you got a club.
you got it. That's exactly how it goes. I was talking to a gentleman around the campfire at one of our shoots um, earlier on this year, and he's from Connecticut, and he was mentioning how they didn't have a club, and I was like, "You don't have a traditional club?" And he's like, "No, no, we don't." It's like, "Well, I'm gonna have to start one," and he said, "Challenge accepted." So I guarantee that guy will start a club in the next couple of years. So he's already got an archery business. He makes custom arrows, and he's a whiz. He does a fantastic work. His name's Gary D. Hall. So check him out if you're in Connecticut or you want a great set of traditional arrows. And hopefully he'll get a club going in the next couple of years, and we'll be able to go attend his shoots down there and support them.
Well, even if you don't have a club, you got some place to shoot, set up some targets, and then start shooting them. And you find another archer, say, "Hey, come on down, let's do some shooting," and then just start
Yep.
off with, your club might be two people.
I guess
You know,
his dad, I think, has some property that they do that at, or it might be his property. I'm not sure. don't remember how exactly the conversation went, but they do that. They just want to get a club going, I think, to have people from other states join in. And we even talked about a larger rendezvous where, everybody can come together, kind of like an ETAR for New England, an Eastern
Yeah,
traditional rendezvous for New England area where you can have some of the makers and vendors come and sell stuff and do a blanket swap, trade items and stuff like that too.
that's always nice when you go to something like that where each one has their own kind of unique stuff that they do and make,
Oh yeah,
and you're looking for something else, and sometimes trading is better than outright buying them. It's like, hey, I get what I want, and you get what you want.
yep.
We don't have to figure out buy it, and there's a lot of, like you said, talented people out there that make arrows, make bows, and make accessories, and I've had several different ones on that make accessories, from holders to hold your releases, and quivers and all kinds of different stuff, and
Yeah, a lot of
there,
part-time businesses that fills the niche.
yeah, there's always something, and if you don't know how to do something, figure it out. Find something that you need, and if you can't find it, make it.
Oh yeah,
That's
I make some homemade quivers here at the house, and I actually donated 4 quivers this year to 4 different shoots. Um, one of them was my buddy Eric's shoot and myself. We put this one on at our local club. It was an all traditional. Um, and then another buddy of ours won the quiver in the raffle. It was cool. He's
yeah.
actually the vice president of our White Mountain Club. Um, I made a quiver for another friend's shoot that's in Merrimack, New Hampshire, and I ended up winning that. I got pulled first, second time, both times and I was like, put it back in there, let somebody else win it. But then I remembered, I was like, you did really like that quiver you made, and you put a lot of money in that raffle jar. So on the second or third time they pulled my name, I was like, I think I'll walk home with it. So it cost me
Yeah.
$100 to make the quiver, and another $40 or $50 to win the quiver in the raffle. But
Yeah,
I
you're hoping to get
enjoy
something
the
else.
yeah I enjoy that stuff though. I enjoy making a few over the winter time. When it's too freezing outside to go stump shooting or anything, and
Yeah.
then I'll just save them up and we'll give them away for the shoots, and they seem to work out well. The people love them. So
Well, I like, stuff that, somebody's made instead of going, buying them at the store, and they're all the same. If somebody makes one for you, it's custom made, because you're not going to have any two exactly the same because you're not doing
exactly.
production work. Each
Yep.
one's going to be different, especially, if you start decorating it or anything else. Um, that's going to make that one custom to each one, and it's kind of nice to make it a little bit different.
It
Each
sure
one's
is. I
slightly
mean,
different.
I made a prize for our vice president at our White Mountain shoot in September. He made a novelty. It was like a hanging bottle thing from for a broadhead shoot. We had to cut the wire basically, or cut the line, the fishing line,
Yeah.
and I made the prizes for that. It was a broadhead knife, a little threadbare razor head, and an antler handle, and a leather beaded sheath and stuff. So that went over pretty well. And anything like that, us traditional guys and gals kind of, we dig that kind of stuff.
And that stuff that's really nice, it's unique.
It is. That's a great word for it. It's different than anything else. Next year, I'll make another one for his broadhead challenge if he does that again, but I'll just use a different broadhead this time. I'll use a Howard Hill or a Ben Pearson broadhead, or something else to make it different from the last one. And then obviously the antler handle and the sheath will be a little different. So every year will be different. But if it's an annual thing, I'll keep doing it.
Well, that'd be fun to do.
It is, like I said, it's one of those winter projects that it doesn't take all that long. I kind of got it down to a science. I've made a few of them, so just takes me about a week, and They come out pretty good,
Yeah.
like them.
Well, and I used to make duck calls and deer calls, and even though I haven't done it in a while because, well, I got other things going on, and I've sold quite a few of them. I still got a few more I could make, but it's the same read in every one of them,
Hmm.
but no two calls are the same. They don't even sound the same.
Yeah.
The wood is different, and I go for a pattern on a wood, and I make it round. I look at it, it's like, no, that ain't what the wood's telling me to do. Each piece is going to be a different shape, because they're all handmade,
Yep.
and that's the thing that's really nice is when you're doing that kind of stuff that you can custom make it, and it's all one of a kind, and um, that's kind of the fun part of doing that kind of stuff. And it's amazing on a call, the same read in three different calls sounds different. Yeah. I've had some where you could blow as hard as you want in it and it just got louder and louder. Other ones you blow hard and it sounds terrible. It- you
Yeah.
know, but the one you can blow real hard in, you can't do a feeder call because it takes too much water, too much air to blow in it. And one's great for feeder calls and are terrible for, hail calls. And then you got the other ones that are kind of okay for both. And that's what I like about, handmade stuff is each one's different and custom, and it all looks different, and you never know what somebody's gonna like. You just like, oh, that didn't turn out like I wanted. And then somebody comes along and says, oh man, that's great. I love that one. I want that one. And they're like, oh, I was about ready to throw it in the burn pile. It didn't turn out like I wanted it to. And so you just never know. And that's the nice thing about being able to do this kind of stuff is just you just make a whole bunch of different, each one different. You never know what's going to sell.
It's true. Different densities of wood and, other characteristics. It's all, I've had a few different, grunt tube calls, and although it's like you said, the same reeds and mechanisms, they are different. I have a favorite. I think it's a zebra wood, if I'm not mistaken. It's the one I'm using in the past couple of years. I
Yeah,
like the
kind of.
looks of it. That's what I went with, but I like a younger sounding deer compared to the others that I have.
Yeah, it's a little bit different density of the wood. It's kind of neat. Zebra wood, if those are listening or watching don't know, it's a light kind of a tan and a brown striped, and it's striped like a zebra, except it's not white and black like a zebra is.
Yeah.
And there's some other ones that are really hard, like rosewood makes really cool looking stuff. And woods like Purple Heart, they don't stay purple very long. They turn dark.
My
Yeah.
wife's bow is Purple Heart, actually. One here in the middle. It's
Oh
pretty purple.
yeah.
Yeah, in the sun, it just pops right out. But
Yeah.
it's a mostly Purple Heart riser. It's good. I don't know, inch and a half or so, inch and a quarter. She
Yeah,
loved that.
I can see it from here. It's that's cool about those kind of things.
Oh yeah, people can see it. But she is super proud of that thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
For those of you
it's
that
her
are
second custom
listening,
bow.
you're gonna have to go watch the video to see this boat because it's hard to describe. It is cool. A lot of Purple Heart on the front of it and then a handle and
Yeah, I liked
that's
it.
the
I was thinking of getting my next bow Purple Heart riser just to match hers, but I'm not sure.
there's all kinds of different ones. There's the Bloodwood, which is a red. That's pretty cool looking when you put that into a bow and then there's like the Canary Wood, it's more of a yellow, and a mulberry is actually a pretty cool looking wood. Um, I made I made some stuff out of a mulberry. I think I made a mallet or something, and as you turn, it's kind of like iridescent in there. It's kind of a yellow, and it'll turn when it gets the air, it turns kind of a dark brown,
Hmm.
the mulberry, and it's really cool as long as you put some coating on it so the air doesn't get to it. It stays that kind of nice yellow, and that's like the Purple Heart. If you get out in the sun too much, it's going to start darkening, and that's where
Like
you
Osage,
keep a
yeah.
good. Yeah, yeah, Osage is a nice dark, and it's really hard.
Yeah. Starts out bright yellow, get it out in the sun with the UV, and then it just starts darkening right up.
Yeah. Well, they call them um, hedgewood because they made hedges out of them that have been in the ground for 100 years and it's still good.
Oh yeah.
Like it won't rot. So what else have you got going on that's new from last time, or what's your plans for the future?
Well, we're going to, I know that we'll start with our club, I guess, our local New Hampshire clubs. Um, we'll all be putting on the same shoots that we did this year, which would be our cabin fever shoot in February. It's kind of our, opening from the winter doldrums or whatever.
Okay.
And then we'll be putting on another one in September. Eric Arquette and myself will be putting on another one through Manchester Bow Hunters, an all traditional, probably around the June-ish time frame. And then we have another club we're members of, but they kind of take care of that. It's our friend Ray Greenleaf, Kevin Weatherby, and Platonic Boys over there. They do a shoot in Merrimack, New Hampshire, which is only about 20 minutes from myself and about 20 minutes, 25 minutes from our other club. And so we go and attend that all traditional. That one, he said, went from the teens, 13, 14, 15 people over the last couple few years. And this past year, this 2024 shoot, they had like 32 plus, I think he said.
Oh,
So the
that's a good
attendance
increase.
skyrocketed. We tried to get the word out on Facebook and stuff for that one, and I think it worked. Then we did all the Maine shoots. We go up to Maine, the Maine Traditional Archers Club. They got a new president up there, Kane Bowden. He's a younger guy and very enthusiastic, great to work with. He actually started a group on his own about with our club so we can not walk on each other's dates that we're planning for
Yeah.
2025, and we'll be working with his club. But they have four shoots up there: a winter shoot, a spring shoot, a summer rendezvous, which is 2 days, and then they have traditional championships in September as well. And then Narragansett Bow Hunters in Rhode Island also puts on a Southern traditional state championship. And now we're just waiting for Massachusetts and Connecticut and Vermont to jump on board. And Vermont and Massachusetts used to have um, at least two shoots each that were all traditional each year. And for the last several years or whatnot, they haven't, for whatever reason. Maybe it's the older guys and gals, bowing out, and the next generation not stepping up yet or being interested. Maybe they're compounders. I'm not sure. But hopefully they'll, little by little jump in and get their club to throw in a shoot. We used to have a circuit. I think we talked about that last time, where it was almost every other weekend, every third weekend, we'd be staying out in another state or attending an all traditional shoot at another state. And that's what we'd like to get back to. Now, it's not that we don't like going to our regular shoots every weekend, because we have an organization that throws them every Sunday here, the Granite State Bow Hunters. It's just that you like shooting around your brothers and sisters who, shoot the same equipment as you, so you can talk the same,
You're right.
whatever. You don't want to be talking about rests and sights with people. You want to be talking about wooden arrows and, what field tips and whatnot for your carbon arrows, or what, is there carbon in your bow, or what type of wood is in your riser. That's the type of talk we like to talk. So,
Yeah, and with when you have a compound and traditional, bows, they're both doing the same thing. They're stick with a string flinging another stick. But that's where it separates. And what the traditional guy is going to be interested in, talking about his equipment, or her equipment. The compound is going to be, they're going to be talking about a little different stuff because,
yep,
like you said, we have
we're very
rests
similar,
going on it. Yeah,
just a little bit different. That's all.
right. That's what my definition of archery is: a stick with a string flinging another stick. If it fits in that category, that's archery. I don't care what equipment it is. It's archery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we did the cabin fever shoot. We got the White Mountain Boys all together. It's basically a four-man crew at the beginning, and then our buddy Eric Arquette worked very hard on marketing and advertising, and he helped set up the first cabin fever shoot with us. Um, and so we got him in as a member, and he's been great with ideas, just being there to help set up. His burgers have gone over. He makes these homemade burgers at the shoots that at the last shoot they sold out. We had to go get more meat. Let's put it that way.
Oh,
So everybody loves Eric's burgers. But yeah, it was good to have him now on the team. But we have our president Daryl Andrews, our vice president Jeff Kemp, treasurer Tom Silva, myself, and Eric, and we're the board members. And then we have several other regular members that we don't, talk to as often. But the planning is all done with us, and we have others that help out, like Warren Gerard, John LeBlanc, Will Murray. And they'll come and show up when the shoot's on, and they'll help set up and whatnot. But we are going to be opening membership up. That was one thing we didn't want to do on the first year. We wanted to get things kind of rolling again and see what the attendance was going to be. And I think we were all pleased. And we're either going to do a free membership next year or a very limited, money for the membership. And at the Cabin Fever, we're going to come out with hats and T-shirts and stickers again, like we've always done in the past. And that'll be the beginning of the season for us. And then from there, I think it'll go to the main shoot. They put on theirs. Then we go to the Merrimack, so we'll do our rounds. People can look us up on Facebook at either Northeast All Traditional 3D Archery Shoots and Rendezvous. We have New Hampshire Traditional Archery page. Most importantly, they can look on the White Mountain Traditional Bow Hunters Facebook page and become a member of that. And every time there's a shoot anywhere in New England, it'll be posted on all of those sites. So between those sites, we have a few hundred people that are members. We just have to get more of those people that are members coming to the shoots. So it started this year. We probably got 15 or 20 of those people out on the courses that told us, yeah, I saw your stuff through the Facebook pages. So that's why I'm here to check it out and try it out. I've never been to a shoot, or I haven't been in 15 years, and it was nice to see you guys up there putting the info out. So I know it's working. It's going to take a little bit, to get that buggy up and going again.
yeah, yeah. Well, if
And
you were
we're seeing more youth this year than last year, which was nice.
that's good.
Oh yeah, yeah. We saw at least, I'd say there's 4 or 5 kids that we would see repeatedly at shoots, which was nice because before that there was only a couple. There's only two brothers. Paul Nackis's kids, Cam and Tom. But I put on at Eric and mine's shoot, the first one, this little zombie shoot. It was like a novelty. We did it at night. And I knew they were glow in the dark targets, but I had no idea they were these really big paper targets. And I just put them up on our bale houses. And we started going around at night, and we were shooting that with a whole big group of us that camped out. And then all of a sudden, Eric turned on his UV flashlight for some reason, and bam, target just lit up fluorescent-wise, and it changed the whole game and made it into something that was really explosive. Everybody was just like, whoa, this is so cool now. And me and Nikki, my wife, we had put glow sticks all throughout the trail, so it kind of like set an ambiance for it.
Yeah.
It went over so well. We did that at the White Mountain shoot in September again. And I actually made a little placard for most headshots because that's how we were counting them on the first shoot. And one of our youngsters won, actually.
Oh, yeah?
A new friend of mine, Dale Stockman. He's a friend of all of ours. He's a great guy. But his grandson, Nick Adams, schooled us all. I think me and a few other of the boys had three or four headshots, and we thought we were leading the pack out of like 10 or 12 that we had set up. 10 to 12. He had a 7 or 8. It was incredible. So good
Yeah,
for me.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was a good time. That's the stuff we want to see, though. I mean, we love to see the youth excel and get more enthusiastic to wanting to show up next time and continue on. That way, when we kind of bow out, they're going to be there to pick
yeah.
up the pieces and continue on.
Well, if you why don't you go ahead and send me the links to all those sites and stuff you talked about in
I
Messenger, and I'll
will.
put them in the description. And then in the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group, we'll just have you go ahead and post those events in there as well. The
Okay.
archery shoots, put a link to the event in there. Let's see if we can get some more people there. That group has people all over the world, so there's some probably not going to fly in from some country that's on the other half side of the world, but who knows? They might be in the country at the time and swing by, so you never
And
know.
there you go. I
But
mean, they could be from Florida or Texas or wherever, and just that weekend they're like, "Oh, hey, I happen to be in town." That happened last year, actually. At
uh-oh, we lost him. Yeah, he'll be back in a second here. But yeah, one of the things you can do is in our Stock 101 Facebook group, we have the videos we do of the podcasters there, as well as some other information. You go and join that group where we have a lot of people with a lot of knowledge in there, from archers that have been shooting for 60 years to, bow techs have been working on bows for, 20 years or better. So, get in there and we'll have the podcast in there as well. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify. It's one of the places there, or audible.com, another place to do it from. So I see, Jeff, you're back again now. So
Sorry
we
about that.
were, no, no, that's okay. It's one of those things that things happen. You were talking about um, you know, getting some of the links to those and getting them posted in the Facebook group as well. And we can always post them in on my profile and page and as well, and then you can share them into the group because the group's private, so you can't share outside the group. But we can get in there and post links to that. And um, I don't allow people to sell anything in the group, but posting the events like this is kind of what we want to do in the group.
Thank you. No, we'll definitely include you guys now, and like you said, hopefully there's somebody that'll either be visiting New England locally or they're a resident up here. That's a possibility too.
Yeah, because there's members all over the world. I think last time I looked, there's a little over 1,400 members in the group right now. So
That's
um,
awesome.
they're all archers, and uh, you know you don't have to worry about people posting stuff for sale because as soon as I see them, I delete them, ban them. It's not a site to be selling stuff. There are plenty of places you can sell your equipment,
There is.
and it's all asking questions. If you're having a problem with your form, take a video on your phone, upload it to the group. Say, hey, what's going on? I just had a lady say her group was not very good. She wasn't grouping very well, traditional, and so she recorded a video and I kind of critiqued it. Well, one time the hand comes away from the face, one time it just stays there, one time it comes back a little bit different. Each shot was a little bit different. I think two of them was the same. Her release was different on every one of the 6 shots she did. So of course you're not going to hit in the same spot.
Right.
Um,
No
you know,
consistency. Yeah.
that's one of the things that you got to be consistent. Whatever you're doing, you do it the same every time.
Yep. It's one of those things. I fought some target panic this past year. It was very frustrating, and I had a couple of friends that helped me out with it. Eric Arquette, Will Murray. They helped me. I had to go back and kind of just read some things and just buckle down. And I've just kind of gotten over it the last month or two. Really was frustrating. It was almost the whole 3D season. I had to just say, all right, don't worry about your scores, just have fun. And on the
Right.
fun days, I did well, and I realized, okay, there's no pressure. So, you're thinking too much about these, this, and
Yeah.
it was a
Well,
little bit to do with the bow that I was shooting. Um, I wanted to shoot a certain way, and it didn't want to be shot that way too. And this new bow that I've got likes to be shot the way I like to shoot, and it's decent. I'm getting a little better each week, so we'll see how good I am. By the end of this hunting season, if I can get some venison in the freezer.
yeah. Well, target panic with traditional equipment is a little bit different to solve than with a compound bow. You
It
know,
is. I don't have target panic at a certain yardage, but beyond a certain yardage, that's when the worries come in my brain. It's almost like my
oh,
brain knows, okay, if you're, 12, 13 yards away, there's no excuse for missing. So you're not going to miss. But 15 yards or past that, especially without my glasses,
oh, yeah,
put my glasses on, I get a little extra yardage. I get about 17. Anything past that, and it gets in my head sometimes, and I'll have a bad release, or I won't be pushing while I'm pulling. I'll do something wrong, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, I did this wrong. Why didn't I follow through with that? But the target panic was a lot of this, just at
yeah,
the very last moment, and I had to get over that. So now I sometimes just have a lot of shots that are low, but at least I'm doing things right.
yeah.
It's
Well,
nice to be able to watch your friends who are very good,
yeah,
because then you can kind of, pick up on that too. So I got some friends that are extremely talented with the bow and arrow. Eric Arquette, Jeff M. These guys shoot, 230s to 260s on the regular at all our Sunday shoots, depending on the skill level of the course.
right.
So to trail behind 20 points behind those guys, I consider it is a good goal for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, target panic on compound bows is really soft. Quit pulling the trigger. That's causing you target panic. Well, on a traditional bow, there's no trigger to pull, so it's a little bit more work to go through and solve that. But,
It is.
you work through it, and not you've worked through it, somebody's having target panic. You'd have a couple little pointers that, oh, what to do. And it's all just, that you got to get that consistent thing. And maybe what you got to do is, you're shooting at that little bit longer distance, just keep shooting at that distance, and even just come back eyes closed and go through your motion with your eyes closed, so that you can't miss the target, and then open them up and see if it changes.
Mhm.
That's what I did when I was learning back tension release with a compound. Is we'd shoot with our eyes closed until we'd feel what that good shot felt like, open our eyes, and that shot sequence just went away. So you close your eyes, you go back, and then open your eyes. Finally, you can finally open your eyes. Now remember, you're only standing maybe 3 feet from the target, and there's no sight on there. You're not aiming. And then you finally get with, okay, now I can finally have my eyes open. Well, now then you get to start aiming, and then quickly you got to go back, eventually work through and get all that, and then it comes through, and you catch yourself pulling the trigger, and that's why, on the release, I have it clear back to the second knuckle, so you can't really pull the trigger.
I do
But
remember you telling us that last time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But with the traditional, where are you putting the string? Are you putting it at the tips? It's first knuckle or second knuckle? I've seen people just get in there, not knowing what's going on, like a lot of kids, they'll just sit and grab it like they're grabbing a baseball bat or something, and then expect to be able to release. You know,
Yeah.
I always had, my gloves I had when I was a kid had a nice little groove in it right on the pads of my fingers, because that's where I drew back. And even though I didn't know what I know now, but um,
No,
it just
shot
felt a lot
process,
better.
or shot sequence, like you called it, that is probably what nailed it down for me the most. Um, Joel Turner's come out with that information, but there's other, people that have also done that. Eric and a couple other guys were like, yeah, you need to go through a list, and I came up with a a 10-step process. Started at like 15. I was doing like 15 things just to get to where I would release the arrow properly. And then I nailed it down to nine, basically uh, three kind of trifectas, I call them. My first three
Yeah.
things I do, my second three things I do, and then my third. The first is just getting in my stance, so I don't count that. But then I do with my other groups of three things, and on the third and final, the ninth thing, that's the release. Like the eighth is when my feather touches my nose. Everything's got to be perfect. But when I do all of those things perfect, I don't generally miss my spot more than 2 inches to either side. I'm within a 4 inch circle from 15 yards or so. 20 yards, it gets to be like a 6 inch circle, but I'm
Right.
still with that. So we'll see how it's going to be next year. I'm enjoying the bow that I'm shooting more than I've enjoyed any other bows the past couple years. So I think that also has a lot to do with it. I want to do my bowyer, my buddy that made the bow. I want to do him proud. I want to do myself proud, and I want to do the bow proud.
Yeah. When you have a bow that fits you, that's definitely one of the things that is big in determining whether or not you're going to shoot it well, no matter what type of bow it is.
Oh yeah, it all
You
started
know.
with grip. That's part of my first trifecta, and Eric had actually noticed that I was doing that different on each shot that we went down to. It was at Narragansett Bow Hunters this past spring at their traditional championships, and first half of the course I was shooting great, and then the second half I just took a dive, and I was really getting frustrated. And he's like, "Well, this is what you're doing. I know this is a place for you to start." Somebody told me the same thing, and I got frustrated at that time, but then after that, I looked back on it and I was like, Eric's 100% right. I'm going to start with this, and I'm going to start doing this the same every time. And then we'll see and that's how the shot process came. I was like, okay, now I've got my grip done perfectly. Now I'm going to roll my elbow out and concentrate on those two things every shot. And then it came to a third, which was, my, between my first three. That's where I put my string, is between my first three here on my knuckles. And that's my first trifecta. So I roll the elbow out to make sure my grip's fine, and my string is in the proper place. I use a split fingered release, but it's in the first line of those knuckles. And then I start on to my second trifecta and go to my third. And it does take a little bit longer than if it's just a fluid shot. Some say instinctive. I don't kind of use that word. But I have gotten to the point now where I can kind of do everything in my shot process by feel now. So I know if one thing's off as I'm starting to draw back on my third set of three items. I know if I've forgotten to roll my elbow, or if my grip is wrong. So if I'm out hunting, I'll tend not to use the shot process, and I'll just kind of go with the flow, and everything's been coming together. It starts out with those first three though, and then I'm kind of on from there,
Right.
you know. And
Yeah.
it's the old lady telling me she's coming back from the butcher.
Oh, that's good. I
But
know the first thing I do is the grip on the bow, which I'm not actually gripping, but I'll put my hand in the sling, and then I put my hand, the webbing on it, open it up, and then just move it down. So then it comes through, from in between the index finger and the thumb to in between the pads of the little finger and the thumb. Right, that meaty part is gone. It's just on the bone. So I go that, and now I've got that push, a little pressure in my hand, because I got my release hooked up to it, so I have a little pressure on it, and that is my hand position, and that automatically puts my elbow out by going in that grip. And when I grab my recurve, I use the same grip. I don't grab it differently. I don't, like a bat, because then that puts my arm in the way,
yeah,
and then it gets whacked. So I hold it the same way. So I'm not really holding more than, just I do have to wrap my fingers because I don't have a sling on my recurve. I do on my compound, but so I wrap my fingers around and just lightly touch the two just so that when the bow goes forward, I have something to catch it.
That's an advantage you had. See, I shoot my longbow, my American Semi. It's totally different. So I'll grab it, kind of like a luggage suitcase thing, and I'll bend this arm, and I never have any issues hitting. And so I was shooting that bow, that style of bow, the American Semi longbow, for the last 2-3 years. So when I went back to the hybrid and the recurve this year, it started that issue with me, and but we've gotten past it. I think, it's even when I'm having a bad day on a 3D course now, I'll shoot like a 220. So that's pretty
That's
good for
good.
me. Yeah. So this I'm gonna shoot 230s, 240s next year, I think. And as long as
Is
I can
that
get close to a deer this year or next year, I think we're gonna fill the freezer.
is that out of a 300 total for the?
Yeah, that's out of 300. Yeah. And the
Okay.
skill levels at all the shoots are all different. So we'll go to one shoot in Massachusetts where nothing will be beyond 18 yards. Then we'll go to a shoot in New Hampshire where the shots are 18 to 28 yards. So there can be a big variation. So
Oh
not
yeah,
the same guy that'll shoot 250 at that first shoot will not shoot 250. They'll shoot 230 or 225 at the longer range distances. So you can always tell by the normal guys that's place first, second, and third. If their scores are lower, you're like, oh, that was a tough shoot.
yeah. You can always tell, and there's so much variation, in distance and how you have to learn to shoot traditional equipment when you don't have sights on them.
Yeah, I mean, I found a new way to shoot for myself that it's allowing me to be more accurate. It's something I kind of found it by accident. And I've just been using it, and it's been working perfect. It works great up to my 15-yard range, which is without my glasses, that's definitely my maximum. But
Right.
like with my glasses, I can shoot a little further. But as if I keep everything perfectly steady out there and I'm beginning my draw, I will start out with a gap. So I'll know where my arrow point on my broadhead needs to be compared to where I want to hit. And then I'll just start out like there. And then boom, from that, I'll focus right on my spot that I want to hit. And I won't lose it. And then I'll draw back from there. But my arm stays steady from where I had originally put that arrow. I never thought to do that before. And I kind of did it a couple times. I'm like, whoa, my arrow just went right where I was looking when I did that. So I just did it over and over and over and from different yardages. And then I realized, okay, so it'll do it all the way up to this yardage and then it won't. Then it'll start going low. So then I had to start picking up my arrow to shoot. And I've since learned that other people shoot like that. I had no idea. That's, something that I don't know if people don't want to talk about it because they think it's cheating or I don't know. I've
Yeah.
tried shooting. I've tried what they call instinctive, just getting up there and picking your spot and kind of winging it. Um, I don't think instinctive is a good word. I think intuitive is what my buddy Will Murray calls it, and I think that's
Yeah.
more of the word because you shoot a lot of arrows at a certain yardage. Your brain's going to know exactly where your point needs to be,
Right.
even without you looking. If you're paying attention to it in your peripheral vision and you're concentrating on your spot, your brain's paying attention to that down there. And since
Well,
you've done it 1,000 times, you're going to be able to hit your spot. That's not instinct. That's instinct is more automatic. You
right.
know, intuitive is you've learned it and now it's memorized. So
Well, it's kind of like what you do is what I do. I've been doing since 95. When I draw a bow, I bring it up and I point the bow at my target, lean a little bit forward. So as I draw back and stand up, I'm standing up straight. Lots of if you stand up straight, and then next thing you're leaning it back and your form's out of whack. So I lean forward and draw, always pointing at the target. And that's what I've been doing since 95. That's the way I've been. Of course, that was the way I was taught to do it, and the reason why, and it makes sense. And I've done, and it works really well.
that's how my
And
son shoots actually. He does we call it the rock. in our house because he does a little of this on every shot. Like so he doesn't hunt with his bow, but he loves to do the 3D shoots and stuff when he can. And he'll do a little rock, but he'll always come back to perfectly center. But he'll
Right.
start like this, and then he'll stop. He won't. My daughter, when she would shoot, she doesn't shoot anymore, but when she would do this, and you couldn't tell her that that was wrong, no matter
Yeah.
what. And at one point or another, you want your child to still be involved and not be frustrated with you and your
Right.
lessons. Just like, okay, hon, you do what you want, and as long as you have a good day, I'm happy. So
Yeah, somebody else would have to tell her. Yeah,
exactly, I think so.
Daddy can't tell her. Somebody else can though.
I'm just hoping someday, again, she'll want to shoot. And Liam has started working, so he's 18 now, and he's got a girlfriend, and he doesn't shoot as much as he used to. He only comes out with us 3, 4, 5 times a year now. I'm hoping that'll turn around again, and he'll.
Well, he needs to get his girlfriend into archery, so there's a reason for them both come.
Maybe she's a city girl, so I'm not sure if that'll happen. Maybe someday. But yeah, he still he came to us to the Pocono this year. Spent the weekend out there with us. He loved it. Of course, there's a lot of people out there that know him, and that always helps with kids and youth. When they know you by name and they'll stop and say hello to you and how you doing and
Yeah,
whatnot. So as long as we can foster all the youth around us, then they're going to continue on with us. That's something we need to do.
yeah, get the kids involved, and that's something that always nice, and it's kind of fun watching them shoot and develop and get better,
Yeah,
and that's the fun part of teaching is when somebody's started off never shot and going in there a little bit better and a little bit better and um, I know we had I help out at the Missouri River Outdoor Expo that Nebraska puts on. I've helped out. This is the third year now, and I I, I help out with what they call the aerial archery,
oh,
which is a
nice.
machine that shows those discs and then you shoot down with basically it looks like a big baseball or something on the front of it. And we actually had one guy come in, had never shot a bow. His first shot, he hit one of those discs. And out of 5 shots, he hit it twice. Had never
Wow.
shot a bow. It was his first 5 arrows ever. And there's
That's
a lot of
he,
stuff. It's
he
like,
might be a lifelong archer now, just because
yeah,
of that, just because of that
yeah,
excitement.
yeah.
I've seen it
That's
before. People, a lot of compounders I've seen over the years. It's only been one or two a year or one or two every couple of years, but I have seen that they've come over to our group and been like, "Hey, I've always wanted to try, but I've always been intimidated." And we're like, "Hey, come on with us over to the targets, and you can try mine right now."
right.
After 10, 15 minutes, they're like, "Well, I'm not going to put down my compound, but I'm definitely buying a recurve." And that's enough. If you want to shoot both bows, that is awesome. As long as part of the time you've got a recurve or longbow in your hands, we don't mind at all. It's one more for the group in each camp.
Right. And I may have said this before, but when I pick up the compound, I'm looking for anchor point and peep and kisser and everything else on there. And I'm looking, I cannot shoot a compound fast. They it's like no, because by the time I get back to draw, it's like now recurves, I don't look for sights. It's a complete different mental game.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going back, I'm hitting my anchor point and then pulling through.
They're both
And
mental games, but you're right. They are different.
and I don't look for sights. In fact, I don't even see my arrow at all when I shoot the recurve. I just look where it wants to go, and I bring my arm up and draw back, and the whole time I'm concentrating only on what the arrow to go.
I
And
envy you.
I'm not that good because I don't shoot it that much, but
But you could be, if
yeah,
you shot it more, I'm sure.
yeah. Well,
You
right now
know.
I got to get up where I can pull it back.
Um, yeah, getting back to I think the zombie shoots are a good way of bringing the youth into it. We had, I think, I don't even know if we had any at the first one, but we had 6, 7, or 8 kids at the second zombie shoot. So I'm hoping that these 2025 ones that we do um, at the other shoots, I'm hoping they'll be even more attended by the adults, and they'll bring their kids along. But the adults are big kids when we get out there at nighttime following
Yeah.
sticks and shooting at the zombie targets. It's a really really fun little novelty thing. Doesn't take long, but it's one of those things that it's dark out. What else do you do? Before settling down beside the campfire, and we go out there in the woods and do that. Then we have other novelties that we do at um, Eric shoot that we did at Manchester Bow Hunters that I helped him with, and our vice president Jeff Kemp, he helped with it as well, and our new friend Nate Hansen. We had a novelty at that, and I think that is going to be helpful in our attendance. Um, so I think the Poke and Hope in Maine only is the only other one to have a novelty, and it's like a warrior course. It's a whole course type of thing. It's a lot of fun. But we did a black squirrel tribe at the Manchester Bow Hunters where you had to shoot both of the squirrel targets on the course, and if you hit them, then you got a squirrel button and you got in the shoot off. And Eric has a rolling disc like ramp, and that was a huge hit. So everybody that became a member of the tribe got to shoot that for a shoot down to see who was the chief of the tribe, and then they got a case squirrel knife with a bow quiver made by Creekwalker Trading, Donnie Wilkerson, with a nice black squirrel logo on there. Next season, I think I'll just do a knife probably, but we're going to do that again at the White Mountain shoot we just had in September. We did two novelties. We did the rolling disc again, the Bunny Buster is what it's called, Eric's, and then we did the Broadhead Challenge where we cut the line, which was a lot of fun. Those type of things interest us on the traditional side quite a bit, and I think if the other clubs can get something like that at their shoots, I'm hoping that they can. Even if it's just one or two things like that, that'll up their attendance as well. We try to put those things on Facebook and Instagram so other people can see how fun. It's not just a regular 3D shoot,
Right.
because that can get boring after a while. Our group of friends goes every single Sunday to our local 3D shoots. We enjoy the ones that are all traditional when we go to a different state a little more, but we're going every Sunday, no matter what, to a 30 target 3D course. So we enjoy it that much. We'll talk amongst ourselves. We'll talk to the compound shooters, to the people running the clubs. Just enjoy the wildlife there. All the flora, fauna. Have a great time. But for the all traditional guys, I think they'd get a little more attendance if they did a novelty or two at those shoots. I hope they do in the future. That, and I hope Vermont and Mass and Connecticut pick up the torch, and some local clubs get an all trad shoot going in 2025. That would be nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things to do. Around here, it always been traditionally that they had a bionic deer or a steel target with the vitals
That's
cut out
great.
on it. And
Yeah,
that
that's
was
a great one.
bonus points. And you hear us on crunch, somebody, hit the steel. And that always reminds me of a story when I was down um, at PSE going to their dealer school. They was talking about they had a group of guys and ladies come in and they had a bionic deer out there, and it was, started like 60 yards or something.
Oh
And they
wow.
just ask them, it's like, okay, keep walking up until you feel confident you can hit it. And they go along, and it's like, I can shoot here. Clunk. No, they destroyed the arrow. I was getting closer, and all the guys destroyed the arrows, and then the lady got up and she says, I can't shoot this far. Got closer, and she made it because
Good for
she knew her distance.
good for her.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing that you got to know how you can shoot that distance and stay within it. And like you mentioned earlier, at 18 yards, you got a nice small group, but by the time you get 25, 30, it's getting bigger and bigger.
It sure
And
does.
and that's the part, and that's if you know the yardage. Now, okay, you're at 18 yards and it's actually at 25 yards. Are you going to hit that target? Because now you just dropped out of it. So what is effective range for most hunters? 10 yards, maybe 15, because they can't group tight enough at 20 because it opens up, your yardage is off.
Yeah.
So that's why you need to practice so you
Well, then when you're
can,
shooting at an animal too, it's going to move at 20 yards. 20,
right.
25 yards, you're asking for an animal to move quite a bit, maybe, if they hear your bow. And then
Yeah,
the arrow's
especially,
not going to hit where you thought it was.
yeah, especially when you hear it shoot and all of a sudden they duck down, it goes right over their back because they squatted down and shot. But in vital except they squatted.
It is true. We had, um, I mean, it's a steel deer. I don't know if it's the actual bionic deer, but we had that at our last shoot, as well as a blind. In a blind, Eric brought a blind and a tree seat. So we hung that up in a tree. So you had to sit in that for one of the 3D shots. And then he had his blind that he had brought, pretty big, roomy blind. I hit the animal in the leg because I had to cant my bow so badly. And I'm like, oh no, I've gotten to know my bow so well, and I've not shot it canted yet.
Oh
So
yeah.
that was the very first time I did it, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, we got to practice doing this." And then my buddy Will actually kind of walked me through it. He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to shoot it like this if you want to hit here." And I was like, "Man, 40 years of shooting, and I've really never shot a bow severely canted like that before."
Yeah.
Used
They're
to
going to
just
shoot different.
yeah, and it was kind of fun to get to learn. Um, but I'm having to bring my arrow way over here just so it'll hit up here. It was interesting. Those kind of things we like to do, though. We'll throw those in right on the 3D course themselves. You know, have a blind, have a kneeling shot, a bucket sitting down, so you got to sit, or a platform in a tree seat that you got to sit in. Um, fun shots like that. The main warrior course, they have all kinds of things. You have to shoot from your belly, facing the target. You have ricochet shots. They put plywood boards that you have to hit the board and get them into the
Oh,
target. They have these bars that you have to shoot through, balloons on a rotating thing. You have to try and hit the balloon while it's going around in the circle. And they have like 20 different stations. And then the total 10 top guys or gals get to go for a shoot off the next day. And actually, our bowyer buddy Will Murray won it this year.
oh,
He's a
cool.
fantastic shot, not just a great bowyer. And he took home the little warrior plaque this year. Going to try and beat him next year.
Yeah.
He's going to have two of us shooting against him with his own bow that he's made. Me and Eric. Eric Arquette just got his own MTA bow too. So we'll see what we can do. I do like the competitive aspect of it, but more and more that I'm getting older, I turned 51 this year. I'm kind of like gravitating towards the fun of it and
Yeah.
getting to know people more. Like I said, gotten to know more than 24 people this year. And I'd say I've gotten to know probably 10 of those people really, really well, where I can text them a couple times a week, or we can share ideas and whatnot, and talk back and forth, ask advice from each other. And that's not been anything, I've really gone through the past couple decades, really. I've been just me and the fam going for a few 3D shoots a year and noticing that the numbers were down for the traditional guys. And it's just the same old friends that you had, or you see the new faces, but you don't get to know them. And this year was a great opportunity with the 9 total New England all traditional shoots to get to know a lot of those faces that you see out on the course, but you didn't even know their names.
Yeah.
And our camaraderie, I guess, that we build up in the sport, we'll just walk right up. If we see you've got a single string bow, you probably should expect that, you're going to get inundated with a couple few of us guys, and you're going to have to shake somebody's hand. You're gonna say who you are and where you're from and where have you been? Why have we shot with you yet? You want to go shoot today, and that's how you get a new friend, a new person on Facebook. They join your groups. You get to talking with them. Some of them you don't. Some of them you just see every few weeks at a shoot. And you talk with them or shoot with them then, and that's great too. Everybody's
Yeah.
busy. We all have families and work to do. So. But I think we're going to try and put a little more effort, our club, into a slightly, I don't want to say bigger shoots per se, but have some more things at those shoots that we've put on. And we are talking about doing a 2-day rendezvous this coming year, 2025 as well. That's something that we wanted to see, if the attendance would call for it. We didn't want to have 15 guys show up for a 2-day shoot.
Right.
That would be not worth it, I guess, in our eyes. We have to share the gate with the host club because we don't have our own property. So we go to different clubs. Manchester Bow Hunters, they're right in Auburn, New Hampshire. They hosted our September shoot. They hosted Eric and mine's shoot for themselves because it was the Manchester Bow Hunters all trad shoot. And then our other one in February, the Cabin Fever, was hosted by Westford Sportsman in Mass because our vice president of the White Mountain guys, he's actually the archery chair at Westford. So he was able to get us in there. We had a Saturday shoot there. So we'll hopefully get that 2-day rendezvous going. I think that a lot of people are going to enjoy that. Maybe we can get up to 50 people or more, at least on the second day. And some campers. We'll do the zombie shoot again. That way, it's something to draw the campers in. And they'll be able to look forward to that. And if anybody comes and helps us set up the shoot and they camp out, we'll grill for them. We'll hook them up with some foods and whatnot. And we did have a few that came and helped us just out of the goodness of their hearts. And then they camped out and came out at the shoot at nighttime, which was nice. The more hands on deck, the quicker it goes. And we had good leadership. Yeah, we had good leadership and great teamwork at the White Mountain shoots, especially the second time. And it lickety split. I mean, the setup and tear down just went so fast. And it was great. And I got to know a couple of guys really well and made a couple of really good friends. Daryl Andrews, John LeBlanc, Jeff Kemp. Those guys I would count as friends now, which I didn't. I knew them, over the past couple of years or whatnot, by name and whatnot. Even shot with John and Jeff a few times, but just hadn't gotten to know them really well. And through the club and setting up the shoots and planning, because there's a lot of planning, you know. The more planning you do for a 3D shoot, the easier it goes. If you just get in there and kind of wing it, then you're kind of dragging your feet because you always got to make the next decision, But if you have all those decisions have come through your mind and you've thought of all the eventualities, then it's a lot quicker.
Yeah, even down as far as, okay, how many targets you're going to have and what's the distances going to be, and
Exactly.
are you going to have any kind of obstacles in your way so you have to do something different? Are you going to try the really short, like the 5-yard shots or the 5 feet shots?
We like obstacles.
Yeah.
Not too many. We don't want anybody, breaking arrows or losing them. But to make it a little more difficult, you got to shoot over something or through something, and it's obtainable. You can do it. Then we love to set that up.
Well, and you got a lot of different paper target games that you can play. They got some that have a deck of cards on them. They have some that are set up just like a dart, where you're throwing the darts, except you're shooting an arrow in them. They have tic-tac-toe ones, which are really a lot of fun. You got 5 arrows, you got to make three in a row, and if you
Yeah.
shoot a square and I want that square, well, if I get close to the center, I get it. I can take it away from you. So there's a little bit of strategy. And if you don't, well, now you're down with an arrow. So, uh, those are kind of fun. And
I like the
the
idea that we've got different, a bunch of different guys now, and we each bring a different idea. We really come at it at a different angle. And as long as we don't get frustrated with each other and we just let that guy kind of do his thing and support them, you know. I'll use an example. Our president just got this castle. It was a kid's castle that was from, he said, like the late 80s, off
yeah,
of something that he works for. And we didn't know what it was going to be about. We had no idea. And I was just thinking in my head, you know what? Let's leave it. We'll see it when we see it, and we'll see what kind of an idea we can, And he came with this storm the castle type of idea, saying we could set up small targets on and around it. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, I fell in love with it. I was like, you're
yeah,
absolutely 100% right. This is going to be a great novelty, you know. Um, so sometimes you have to see it there, but we'll each come with a different idea, and that will not please everybody, but maybe my idea will please 10 guys, and Daryl's idea will please 10 guys, and Jeff's idea will please 10 guys. And if we do a couple of those at each shoots, most of the people will be happy and they'll want to come back to the next one to see not only those novelties, but other ones like you've mentioned or other ones that we've done.
yeah,
I remember back in the day, we used to play poker at a couple of shoots. One Massachusetts shoot used to have poker all the time. So
yeah.
it's that aspect of it's a lot of fun. I haven't seen aerials in a long time, probably 20 years. We can't do it at the club we were just having ours at, Manchester Bow Hunters, but maybe if we find a club in the future that has the area for that, that would be something great to add. Because everybody loves shooting flu-flus at aerial targets.
Right.
It's a blast. Really
But
is.
you got to have a lot of yards on the other side of it to catch, without going somewhere we don't want. And
Yeah.
a good 100 yards anyway, even with a flu.
You need a pretty big field. You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Well, and I
was,
always thought too that, they have the 100 classes, where you score, you're five if you hit foam, and eight, 10, or whatever the other ones are. So basically five, eight, and 10. And like that's not a hunter class. A hunter class should be -5, 8, or 10. Foam is bad because that's a wounded animal.
yeah.
So you
That's
score
actually how we did
minus,
the scoring on our last shoot. We did Fred Bear style scoring, which was I think it was the 10-5-0. So if you missed, it was a zero. That was better than a wound because a wound was a -5.
yeah,
There were people coming in with scores after shooting 30 targets of 65, 35. I think our top score was like 160, 180, something like that.
yeah,
Normally it would be in the 240s, but with those wounds, it brought you back down to reality. And this was, like I said, right before, it was a week before hunting season, I think, or 2 weeks before that we held the
right,
shoot. So it kind of was a primer and a reality check. Is this my real range, or do I gut shoot this animal at
right.
18 yards? And I need to be at 15. And hopefully some people, um, that got through to some people. Hopefully, it was.
Yeah,
I thought it was fun. We did get a couple complaints. Some of the guys just like the 10-5-8-12 or 11 setup. They like that much better, and they're more used to that. So they didn't like the change, but on the whole, I think we got a good. People liked it, but we'll see for
well,
next
and you
year
could
what we'll do.
you could set up one of the traditional, 5, 8, 10, and then have another course. It's like coming on deer season. It's all deer targets, -5, 8, and 10. It's like,
Yeah,
you want to get ready for hunting? You want to know what your real range is? Here you go. and then you can, okay, you can pick your distance. It's okay. We want to have 18 yards, which is, kind of a long, 18 yards is nothing for a compound bow, but traditional bow, that's kind of the outer limits of, being really effective unless you really good shot. Set them up at different distances, where from, the 10 yards to 25 yards and shoot them and see. And then you learn those, okay, I'm getting minus fives on everything over 18 yards. So I know I can't shoot that far.
Right. That should tell you something. Exactly. Yep. So,
I know one time at the club I was in, we had a broadhead tune-up day where you come down and you can shoot your broadheads because we set up a broadhead target. It was only at, I think, maybe 10 yards at most, and it's a 2 foot square block to hit. I was amazed at how many people couldn't hit that block at 10 yards with a compound bow.
wow.
I was like, and you're gonna go hunt and you can't hit this 2 foot square box, or are you just barely hitting them? And like, you should be able to nail the X ring on every shot at that distance.
I
Well,
was
that's
very
why I set my
proud of all
broadheads
the
up.
I was proud of all the guys that shot the broadhead challenge, Jeff Kemp's broadhead challenge. Like there were guys that were nicking the string and pushing it over, like nicking the little
Oh,
fishing line. If their broadhead was just so much sharper, they would have, you know, they would have taken it down. But everybody was within an inch of that fishing line. I was very happy. I was like, wow,
yeah,
everybody from 10, 12 yards is right on, you know. This would get more difficult if we moved 5 yards back.
right.
I
But
think
when
that
you're
was going
shooting,
to be the
hitting a
thing, but
fishing line, you
I
can't be
think
off
that's
by
what Jeff
more
was going
than,
to do. But it never got that far. We had a winner. Yeah, everybody was close, but no cigar. And then we had Nate Hansen. He took it home. Good for him. He had shooting. I think he was shooting a borrowed broadhead from somebody too.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think he brought his own broadhead. I think he borrowed one, and then he proceeded to. So we shot it. Nobody hit it, and then we all did it again, and then he got on the second go round. So maybe he figured out the broadhead or whatnot. But kudos to him. That was great.
Yeah,
It was a fun little game. I can't wait
yeah,
to see what we come out with this next season. Hopefully, we'll have some different things, some different novelties, and bring back a couple of the same ones as well.
well, and that would get them, come here. Okay, what novel are they going to have this year? So it's like, okay, what's, and then if they don't go, and it's like, oh man, that was so much fun, and then they don't want to, they disappointed they didn't go, and next thing you know, it's like, okay, just to see what's next, and uh, kind of
Yeah, maybe
reminds
we'll
me of,
do like an annual one, and then have another one or two that's new every year.
yeah,
Well,
change it up.
yeah, and that's what's great with the club is that we all, like I said, we come at it from different perspectives, archers, bow hunters, and whatnot. So that's a good thing, that we bring different ideas and we just support the other guy, and
Yeah,
it all ends up working out.
yeah, that's the fun part is doing that kind of stuff, and I think that'd be a whole lot of fun, trying all those different type of shoots, especially with traditional equipment, because they're fun to shoot.
They
You,
are. I
you
wish
know,
you lived up here. That'd be great to have you. You
I
know, we
know Nebraska's a little
we're
too far away.
yeah, just a little. We're getting some people who are better known in the community that this past year, um, better known online and whatnot, that attended a shoot or two through us. Just through our networking and advertising online, they found out about them, or we got with them, and that kind of is another. I don't know if they're humble and they don't consider themselves or their name a draw, but when you say that this person's coming to a shoot, some other people are like, "Oh, I'd love to meet that person."
Yeah,
I'm listening to them on a podcast, or I've been, you know, I've ordered that person's arrows. I've had custom arrows made by that person. I'd love to meet them. I've talked to them a bunch online, but I've never shaken hands with them. You
Yeah.
know, so that's going to be something. I think we've had Schaefer Magnet from the Broken Arrow podcast. He came down to one of our shoots and then attended one of Maine's shoots. Um, their podcast is a fun one to listen to. It's like a campfire type of hunting
Oh yeah.
podcast. Yeah. And then we had a gentleman, Gary D. Hall of, I think it's D&M Custom Arrows, but he makes some awesome spliced feather arrows. I mean, really gorgeous. He's the gent actually I was talking to in Connecticut. That said challenge accepted for the Connecticut Bow Club. That was
Oh
him.
yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people. I'm not sure. I think he's pretty humble too. Like he doesn't even realize how many people know about his arrows and know his name, and he's out there and that have been like, "Are you serious? He went to your shoot? Yeah, you should have went. You would have met
Yeah.
him." But hopefully that's where what it's gonna come to in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years or whatnot. Is that we'll get people that are a little more well known than ourselves coming to the shoots, and that'll draw in a bigger crowd as well. Because these guys are very humble and down to earth, and they have a passion for archery like yourself and myself,
Right.
which is a great thing. There's not, these guys aren't watching football games or baseball games for the majority of their time. They're spending it doing some sort of archery or planning for hunting or talking with their buddies about it. That's the majority of what they do. That's their passion. And those are the kind of guys and gals we want to find.
Yeah. And I'm looking at getting a few more my podcast a little bit different format. When I was up there at the Outdoor Expo, I spent about an hour and a half and I interviewed the guys at Game and Parks that do the tree stand certified instructors.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about, tree stand safety and I haven't put that podcast together yet because I got to edit the video because there's all kinds of stuff in there. About an hour and a half, we talked to them, safety with ladder stands and climbers and hang-ons. We talked about all three of those and so coming up is here real soon. I'll be getting out that podcast for talking about tree stand safety. And I know in the past I've had little short ones. We
Yeah,
talked
I'd
about
watched a
the
couple.
basic with the basic safety in there, but there's a whole lot of other stuff. And I know um, they were certified by what is it, AMA or something, that certified like your safety harness stuff. Well, now they're going to an ISO standard, the same standard that industrial harnesses are done by,
Cool.
and and one of the things we find is like we talked about in here too, that just because that safety harness keeps you from falling to the ground, you still only got about 5 minutes, you're going to die anyway because it cuts off the circulation. And when you finally get circulation, all those chemicals, you end up having a heart attack.
Yeah.
So it went over a couple different things, the lifeline, the lineman's line, and how to actually get down if you're hanging off one of those, how to actually get down, because those knots, the Persix knot locks up when you have pressure on it. You have to take pressure off. So, I'll get in a little bit more, but basically you tie a slip knot, a whole bunch of slip knots, and you put your feet on it, put pressure off, and slide the knot down and work your a whole bunch of knots. And you got to put them real close together because they stretch out about 6 inches in between them when they open
Huh.
up. And he showed how to do that. Well, so we go over that, and that's one
I
of the
can't wait
things
to
that,
watch that one.
yeah, that here in the next week, I should be getting it ready and out, and then also put it on my YouTube channel, where you can watch all these podcasts and a whole bunch of other stuff. My YouTube channel is Learn to Fix It Yourself, and there's all kinds of stuff out there. There's over 900 videos to watch, so you can be watching for hours and days if you want. All kinds of stuff in there, and so that's going to be out there. I'll post that video in the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group, as well as I'll probably put it on my page and my profile as well, just because I think it's important information. and do some promoting on it. And I may split it up in multiple pieces and do some reels or shorts or something, just because that information is so important. Because
That
one of the
is.
things that we noted is 85% of the accidents where hunters get hurt is from a tree stand.
I believe that 100%.
And he said I think it's like 80% of those for homemade tree stands.
Oh, that's not good to hear. So like the old wooden ones that people are still using those, or they, yeah,
Yep, because the wood will rot and you
yeah,
step on it and it gives away. Tree stands are only rated, I think they say every 5 years or something like that. Your
yep,
safety harness has a life in it too. Some manufacturers say like 5 years from date of purchase, or the other might say 5 years from first use. So there's all kinds of stuff, and you need to practice with them. We went over all this. I don't want to get into too much now, but that be looking for that uh, podcasts and those videos because that's some good
100%.
information. And I'm going to start trying to do a little bit more of that actually when I'm out someplace, interview the people there for the podcasts and videos and everything else. And
Those
if you're
kinds of
on,
expos have to be a great place to interview pro staffers and whatnot. That's for
yeah.
sure.
Well,
We've
and
actually,
I've got one I need to get uh, scheduled, that I met 3 years ago, and we just haven't got it connected up together yet because he's really busy. But um, he just won gold at the Olympics with compound a four or yeah, it was 599 out of 600 or 499 out of 500. I forget. He missed it by 1 point, and his score beat. He's in the Paralympics because he have no arms,
oh, wow.
and his score beat out. It's a record that even compounds, normal compound shooters didn't do. So wait for that one. I just got to get connected up with him again, and I need to send
That's
him a
fantastic.
text saying, "Hey, Matt, let's get on the call." That'd be an interesting call, and
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah,
does he
but
release? Does he have a mouth release,
he
or is it a
straps to his
shoulder one?
shoulder, and then he
Shoulder one.
just the jaw.
Yeah.
I seen another girl had no arms and was shooting compound bow. Um, many, many years ago when I was in the club setting up shoots, we had one down at one of the parks down here. And I seen two guys walking around with no arms, that not even stubbed. They just, everything from the socket out was gone. One was the right, one was the left. And they were carrying bows.
That's awesome. How inspiring, huh?
Yeah.
I've
So,
thought about that a couple of times, just in my, right before falling asleep or something. I'd be like, is there anything that could ever make you stop shooting a bow? And I'd be like, oh, this accident would be horrible, if I lost a limb or whatnot. And then I kind of thought about it. I was like, well, you wouldn't give up on life, so you find a way to do it, and these people have found a way to enjoy a passion that's similar to ours, and that's very inspiring.
yeah. Now, last year at the expo, we had a lady come in, was missing um, from the wrist out was gone. They had no hand. It was just, a stub there. Um, and Christy, the one that had Christy Christensen from that Breast Game and Parks, I've known her since the 90s, but she is in charge of all the women's outdoor programs and a lot of archery stuff. And she went over to where they're doing the 3D shoots, and they set up a bow, and she was shooting a bow. And then she had some guy that does leather work make a special sling to put on to actually hold the bow. So what they did is they put a arm guard around the bow and another one around the wrist to hold the arm guard on, so she could use it to draw the bow.
That's
And
awesome.
and then now she has a couple device, basic, like your bowlers use, that holds your wrist straight and stuff. Well, that was all set up to actually hold a bow, so somebody could shoot without a hand. And it's
That's
just
awesome.
that's the stuff that is really cool. And get somebody in there with a handicap like that, and get them in there. And I know when I have my store, I had one guy had MS, so normally you're gonna have a bend in that arm you're holding the bow with, but with the MS he could it just shake too much, so we had to lock his arm out, which is 100% what I don't teach, but that's the only way he could do it. So we lock it out. So we changed it enough so he could shoot and not be smacking his arm. And we just have to adapt. And that's they probably won't know this before, but I teach one specific way. I had 20 years of martial arts experience and then learning how to shoot, and a lot of it combines in together. I teach everybody exactly the same way, tell them why, and then we modify it to fit them.
For them, yeah.
You know, because you're going to shoot a bow differently than I do. I can tell you how I set it up to shoot. This is how I shoot it and why I do it this. But you may not be able to do it. I had one guy who was helping, and he was grouping probably 6-inch group. I spent about 45 minutes on the Zoom call like this, and it wasn't. But a week or two later, he sent me a picture of 3 arrows touching. And I said, well, I tell him, what to do with his hand. It's like, well, his wrist wouldn't bend that way. So he couldn't do that. So we had to figure out a different way to get the same thing accomplished. If you can't bend that wrist all the way and, push with the, straight through the bone, well, if your wrist won't bend that far, we got to figure out a different way. And, that's kind of the interesting stuff. And like one day I had a guy call me up and says, can you set my bow up to shoot 2 arrows at once? He called the other two shops, the other three shops, and they all said, no. Just flat out just said no. I said, hmm, interesting. Well, come over just before we close because you can't afford me while we're open. So he showed up. We closed at 8. He showed up a little before 8. So we spent between 8, 9, 9:30, something like that, playing around with his bow. Now, it wasn't a center shot design riser, which would have made it even more difficult. This is, the older style bows, kind of like a traditional bow, where
Yep.
we put the stick on rests on there, and you want to shoot with the release. Otherwise you could put like one finger above, one in the middle, and one below it, and throw three, and that would have solved it. But you want to use the release, and we played around with different things, and discovered all kinds of stuff on how to make an arrow consistently fly. And by the time we got done, the we'd shoot the arrows. The distance between the arrows varied no more than an eighth of an inch.
Wow.
And now
Excellent.
where he's hit, that's just the gap between the two arrows. So we had consider, and we had them all over some of the gap, and just played on all kinds of stuff. And that's where we learned that when you release that string, that loop, when we had a loop, has to be above and below the nock on the arrow as tight as you get it. You don't want any serving in there above it. If you do above it, then you got to do below it. But then it changes it, because the most efficient way to send that arrow straight is put all the force in the nock directly to the tip. And also it's like, take a pencil, put it on the desk, and put your finger at the eraser and push straight towards the tip. It goes straight. Now turn your hand just slightly. And it does it once, the twist.
Yep.
And that's what you're doing to an arrow by not having that perfect alignment, that's square position between your string and your nock. And depending on where it's at, you want it to go straight through. And sometimes you have to play with everything up and down, depending on your bow. If your upper limb is a little bit stronger than your lower limb, or the distance is different. Generally you put the nock point right in the center of the string, because that should be the center of the bow. But you may have to play with it, and that's the thing that traditional stuff, you have a lot more options to play with them.
I would say, yeah, depending on your release, split fingered, three under, um, that's knock height, that you're going to have to play around with. And then, like you said, it's every person's different. So you could have them both two different people shooting three under, but one person will have it a knock point slightly higher than the other because of what they're drawing back, draw length or whatever. So
And then
what
then
their
you have
style
the
of shooting.
yeah, then you have the concept of string walking, where you're
I'm not going to do that yet. That's a whole nother, I don't want to say can of worms, but because it works so well for so many people, but
yeah,
I'm just not going to get into that yet. That's a, those guys and gals are intensely accurate, you
yeah.
know,
Well, it's
spring
you're
walkers
using
and
the
face
tip.
walkers. Yeah.
Yeah, you're using the tip of the arrow, and then you're counting wraps
Yeah.
where you're going to put your fingers depending
Yeah.
on where you're
Click,
at.
click,
And
click.
yeah, so yeah, I haven't tried it. I don't. If I'm going to do all that work, I'm going to put a sight on it. Yeah, I'm just going to put a sight on it.
They don't, it's not allowed at our Granite State bow hunters shoots. It's actually in the rules because it's considered a site. That's what they classify it as. They have certain rules that they go by for the traditional guys, like no adjustable rests back and forth, no string walking, no face walking. So basically, they're getting you away from using the point of your arrow as your first,
Right.
you know, like a would be your 10 or 15-yard pin on your bow or whatnot. Um, the other shoots, the other all traditional shoots, I don't think there's any rules against it, but most of the shoots around here now, most of all the nine we had last year, I believe were, let's see, one of them, none of them were competitive. One of them gave away first, I think first through third in two different classes, so that one of them was competitive. But I think all the rest of them were the only competitions were the novelties to try and win a prize or win a little plaque
Yeah.
that I had made, or because I made a couple of plaques too, along with the prizes. Um, it came out pretty good. Hopefully next year's will come out a little better. But yeah, the regular 3D aspect of it is not usually competitive. I know we've lost some of the guys and gals due to that too, because they were actually competitive and they figure, oh, if I'm just going to shoot for fun, I'll just shoot in my backyard. You
Yeah.
know, I've gotten that only from a couple of people that let that out, but I figure if a couple did, then there's probably a dozen that are feeling the same way. You know,
Well, you
uh,
can have a competitive course and you can shoot it for fun. Just don't turn your score in.
exactly. Donate it, and that's what we had.
Yeah.
I told them, I was like, look, I don't even turn my score in half the time. My wife and I will keep score throughout the whole thing, or we'll keep score for half of it, and then we'll just be like, no, just put it in our pockets, forget about it. We'll just continue on shooting and having fun. The rest of the
Yeah.
group could score or they won't. So
And you could even have uh, two different two different prices. One when you get a scorecard, you turn it back in. And you don't
mhm.
even get a scorecard. And you pay a little extra to get the scorecard and turn it in. And then you go in for whatever the prices are. That way if you want to shoot for fun, you save yourself a couple of dollars.
Speaking of prizes, we did have a good couple raffles this year. Um, I took kind of a hint from the other all traditional clubs that had done it with the Botanic Club. Ray Greenleaf and Botanic put on a raffle, and I actually did it the same style as his. And then Maine has a raffle as well. Theirs is quite a big raffle where all the people that go usually donate stuff. Um, but Eric Arquette and myself, we just started calling all the local sporting good shops around. Everybody from Bass Pro Shops to Morse Export, Coyote Creek, just all the the local places around, and they all came through with either targets or gift cards. East Coast Archery came through with a nice gift card, and it was nice. We had a really decent raffle. I think that was a draw. If all trad clubs can get with their local stores and do that for prizes, You don't even have to, turn in your scorecard for a prize. You just, buy a raffle ticket. And we had a couple kids that won this year, which was great. I always like it when the kids win something.
Yeah.
Um, we've had a really lucky fellow that we met this past year, Herb Shea. He's a great guy too. He won 3 items at our first shoot and 3 items at our last shoot.
Oh,
Yeah. I was like, you are the luckiest guy. You must be walking around with a 4-leaf clover in your pocket. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm hoping our club's more than willing to work with any other clubs too. If they watch this podcast, where just reach out to us if you need any help, whether it be advice or actual hands-on boots on the ground assistance. We'll be more than happy to, get there and help you guys out, settle up any shoots that you want to do, because we know that getting started, like it was only the 5 of us, or the four, yeah, the 4 of us at first, now the 5 of us. And that's how it begins. And then all of a sudden, after the 5 of us got going, we got with the another 3 guys that used to be members, and they're still members again. And then we reached out to another 4 or 5 guys. So now we've got a dozen, people again. And like you said, that's how it starts. A few guys get together and they start talking about it. They say, what would we like to do? And go from there, write it all down and don't stop. That would be my
Right.
advice. Don't give up on it, because you're going to get to the point where you will be frustrated, and don't let that get to you. Support your brothers and sisters, and yeah, that's pretty much how I'll say that. There'll be times when they aren't going to want to see eye to eye with you because you're coming off wrong, maybe, or you were an aggravation that day to them, and it could have very well been your fault, this guy's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if we don't give up on each other as, all passionate bowmen and bow women, then it will work. You'll all find that common ground, and you'll see the end in sight. You'll be, yeah, I definitely can see, how this was. We needed to start out slow. We needed to do this, and everything just will come together. It really will. It may take some time, you know, but it's gonna and become members of your local clubs. This is something I don't think I really, stated last time around. Is that if you can become members of a few different local clubs, it's not very expensive, $50 to $100 a year, and then you get to go use the property, shoot the targets, and then you can bring in ideas to that club. Hey, would you like to have my other all traditional club or my other, whatever club throw a shoot here? Would that be? And most of the time, it's always going to be an enthusiastic yes, because it's a 50% gate at least,
Yeah.
And that brings them more money to do things with, buy targets or do whatever, and then become members of your national clubs. I don't know of too many national clubs. We have the Compton Traditional Bow Hunters, which is a phenomenal one. We've been a member of that for several years now. Continue. They do a lot for everything from having a magazine, Walk in the Woods magazine, where it's all traditional bow hunting stories, to doing shoots, 2 or 3 shoots during the year, rendezvous shoots where they're like weekend style. And they do awesome youth programs. They have youth hunts. They did one last year at Dick and Carol Mock's place. They're doing another one at Carol Mock's place this year. They do donations of bows and arrows to youths that are in need of them. We'd like to definitely go out west to hit that shoot up, in the next several years, but it's a long drive to get to Michigan. I think it's out in Michigan. We went to Pennsylvania the other day. It was 7 hours. I'm going to be going out there next month to hunt. That's a 7-hour drive. So it's to do that several times a year takes its toll on your vehicles and on yourself. We learned the lesson never to drive at night again. This guy can't see too much anymore without his glasses at nighttime, and I will never be on the road at night going through New York. Uh, that was horrible. They have these very short lanes, and they have the guards there, those concrete guards. It was just scary. I thought I was going to crash the car a couple times. So
Yeah.
we'll plan better next time. We'll sleep at night and then come back during the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would advise, if you're at all a trad guy or gal, start looking around. If they don't have a local club, begin one. Even start in your own regular club. That's your compound club. If you shoot a recurve or whatnot, reach out to all the members there. Reach out to the president, the vice president, the secretary, and get with them and say, hey, are there any other traditional shooters? I'd like to get their information. I'd like to talk with them. And that's how things begin, or just your buddy,
Yeah.
your work that you shoot with. I have a couple of friends at work that both have recurves. I was able to gift them with the recurves, and they don't shoot too often anymore. They really did, though, up until a couple of years ago. And I hope that they'll pick it up again in the next year or two. But there was a time when we were going out 12, 14 times a year, over a dozen times a year, we'd go,
Yeah.
we'd shoot. I hope that'll happen again. But there's those of us that are, die hard about it, and those of us that are a little more lackadaisical and just like to have fun with it a few times a year.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
enjoy that as well.
That's definitely just get out there and do some shooting, and I'm kind of waiting for when I can get back out there doing some shooting.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna shoot in the house after we get done. I think just take a few shots and then I got to go take my nap. I have an illness now, and it's actually already started to kick in while we've been speaking. I have to take medication every day, and I kind of get very
Yeah.
tired in the early afternoon. I took a little bit later today so that I could kind of ride it out
Oh,
till 5 or whatnot.
yeah.
But it's
Yeah. It's I kind of know what you're going through. I had a bypass in April, and they had to go back in about 10 weeks later and put some titanium plates in because it wasn't healing, and I'm still
uh,
trying to struggle with that. It's like so I can't pull in my bows back. I might have to get I got a left hand. I'm right-handed. I have a left-handed like 25 pound bow, I think it is, that was left over when I had the store. They sent me a left-handed bow and a right-handed box. I just never sent it back in. I might have to make a string and, at least start work some of the back muscles with a light bow. At least
it's all
start
right.
because my recurve is I think 45, and my compound is I can get them down to 60. I normally shoot them 70. There's no way I'd be able to get that bow pulled back. And,
No, not right now. We had a friend that he also had a heart issue this year. That's horrible. It's going around, but he got operated on, and he had a bunch of stuff done in there. They had to split him open and whatnot. Then he couldn't do anything for a few months. He was in rehab. Um, but that's kind of what brought him back was, he was texting us throughout the whole rehab and everything, saying that he was looking forward to shooting with our group again more than anything, and that's kind of what brought him through it. I think was just the thought of, hey, getting out there with my friends again,
yeah,
and it did little by little. Sometimes he can only shoot half a shoot, but he would get out there, and it's you, Kevin Weatherby. Hopefully he's doing well.
yeah.
Gonna throw prayers to everybody down south that's going through it right now with the floods and everything too.
Oh yeah, that kind of
Yeah,
disrupts everything down there.
it does. And I'm hoping they all come through. I mean, I know a lot of people are missing, and and are hurting. But those that can be helped, I hope they come through it well.
Yeah. Well, that's all we can do is, help when we can. And
Yeah, we one of another friend of ours just came down with tumors in the big C in a bad way.
oh,
So yeah, our buddy Jacques Bonin, he's very well known on the Facebook pages and whatnot. He's a Howard Hill guy from way back, and he's a fighter though. So he actually had a heart issue a few years back, right on the course. Did the whole shoot and then went to the hospital after that.
oh,
And he had a stroke. Yeah, I call him the best one-eyed shot. He can shoot. He can shoot better with his one eye than me with two. That's when he had his stroke. He kind of lost vision in one of his eyes.
oh yeah,
Yeah, but he's come down with another issue that he's fighting right now. So our thoughts and prayers are out for to him as well.
yeah.
They'll kind of look
Well,
out for each other there on the battlefield of 3D ranges and the stumping and hunting ranges too, and the bow hunting clubs. We kind of all know what each other's going through, and we'll send each other good vibes and whatnot. It's a
yeah,
big community online now. It really is.
yeah. It's that's one of the advantages of the internet now is we can connect where before we couldn't. And when I was growing up, there was no internet, didn't exist yet. There was no color TV.
Yeah, it
There's
was
only
three
three
channels
TV
when I
stations,
was growing up.
and they went off the air at midnight.
Yeah,
No TV after midnight.
yeah. I used to get the national anthem or whatever it was, and then that was it.
Yeah,
Then
they had
bugs. Yep.
that little test pattern for a while, and then just snow.
Yeah.
They went off the air. So yeah, things have changed a lot, and now we can connect a little bit better, and which is good and bad because everybody tries to connect that shouldn't be connecting because they're, well, scammers.
Yeah. Some of them are you know they're not. That's not cool.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
there's a
get them
lot
in
of them
both.
out there. There's tons of them.
I get them in both of my groups that I have. I got the Arch Talk 101 group. I don't get too many, but anybody that's been on Facebook less than a year, most likely they're going to try and scam something, post something, and so I watch them really close. And my
Yeah.
my other group, I've got,
Knife
um,
makers. Knife makers are everywhere. Scammers.
oh yeah, yeah.
Always trying to sell knives.
Well, my other in the archery group, I get them come in try and sell these T-shirts, archery T-shirts. And if
Yes. Okay.
the first thing you post is on something to sell, I'm going to delete your post
Yeah.
and ban you. And in my other group, I get a lot of crypto and finance stuff and stocks. And, if you post something you're not supposed to, I'll delete it for you. Yeah, I'll delete it. But you say crypto or finance or stocks, immediate delete and ban. And there's, I forget how many thousands are in that group, but that one's a big group.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
um I'm gonna have to call this a little early.
Right.
My wife just got home with the butchered meat, and I'm gonna have to go put that in the freezer.
Yep.
And then I gotta
Yep.
take my nap for the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, it's time. We've been on here, uh, well, yeah, almost a couple hours now. So
For real. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah, we
Our
started at 3 and
conversations
it's
seem to
5
go
now.
quite a while, don't they, Roy?
Yeah, they do. That's why I schedule for an hour and leave an hour in between, so I
Yeah.
can't get booked too close. But
I'm looking forward to seeing that tree stand harness episode. Definitely.
yeah, yeah, I didn't get that put together and get that out because there's a lot of information. I ended up spending like an hour and a half talking with them, and so it's gonna take me probably 2 to 3 hours to edit the video.
Well, it's going to be helpful, that's for sure. I had no
Yeah.
idea you could still pass away even falling, from a stand. Obviously, you don't want to let you don't want to let yourself sit there for an hour, but I didn't know it was that critical to get
Well,
yourself righted and
a
figure
lot of
things
the new
out.
harnesses will have this little thing you can drop down, has a loop in it, you can put your foot in, but that's kind of hard to get your foot in there. So
Yeah.
what he actually uses the lineman's line and have that hooked around you so that you can put it down and you can use that to stand up. because you've got to release that pressure because it cuts off circulation. And then I forget what acids build up when you're hanging, just sitting there, and then all of a sudden you get it flowing, and all those acids sitting on it start hit your heart, and then that's when you have a heart attack.
Yeah.
So
Good
yeah,
news that you have taught me, and I had no idea. I thank you for that. And like I said, I am very much looking forward to watching that episode now. So
yeah,
whenever you get it out, let me know. Send me a text
yeah,
or something, and I'll be one of the first people watching it.
yeah. I'll get it out to be as a podcast. I'll also put it in the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group, and I'll put it on my YouTube channel, and I'll
Excellent.
probably post it in segments and the whole thing, even on my page in my profile, because it's
Okay.
important information, and I may even start putting it like on Pinterest, stuff like that, because that's real important information that needs to get out there.
It sure
Uh,
is.
the number one killer in injuries in hunters is tree stand.
Tree stands. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that's definitely something we need to get out there, and kind of looking forward to getting it out there and playing
Yeah.
with it. But I got so many things that I'm still trying to recover from my heart surgery. So like you
Hey,
said,
take your
I wear
time.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I'll definitely get those other links on your page too, so people in New
yeah,
England area can look us up and get with us and reach out if they'd like to, come
yeah,
down and visit. And we'll show them the ropes, and if they've never been, or we'll re-welcome them back. I mean, that's something that happened this year too. Was that other guys that hadn't shot? They've been shooting like us, weekly, daily, but at their house or their local club.
right.
They kind of got out again. It's like, oh my goodness, I haven't seen you for 20 years. Um, my friend Jason Dulac, we've talked several times since, seeing him. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. It was so good to see him. Bob McMasters, Kevin Coleman. I hadn't seen these guys in such a long
Yeah.
time. Now they're able to come to these shoots again. All right. I'm getting talking again. I'm gonna have to let you. My
Yeah.
brain, this side of my head's starting to hurt pretty good. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's
I
been
gotta
great
get that.
having you on again, and we got a lot of good information. And you know, look forward to if you want to go to a shoot, just look at the link, and if of a shoot, just let us know. We'll get the information out and try
I'll
and get
definitely
people
be
to
posting them
go
on the
to them.
site too
Yeah,
on your page. Thank you. But White
yeah,
Mountain Traditional Bow Hunters on Facebook group, Northeast All Traditional Shoots and Rendezvous on Facebook, and New Hampshire Traditional Archery on Facebook group. Those are the ones I'll be posting, um, and hopefully
yeah, yeah.
get some
Let's
more
get links to
people.
them. Let's get some links out to them. And
Yep.
I'm even on a group and part of the guide. I might have a section just on clubs and shoots where you have a common place to go look for them. Because otherwise, when you post it, I'll pin it to the top, but then after a while, you get so many of them, then they'll disappear. I think I might just try and put a section together that will, if you want to know where the shoots are at, and that makes
Yeah.
something I'll work on getting done, so it makes it easier for people to find the different events, and good information too. And I can put links to some of the manufacturers. We talk about all the different bow manufacturers and accessories and releases and everything else. And there's some different ones out there. So I think that'd be some good information to have for them in a group.
Absolutely.
So something I'll work on, in my
Take your time. Let
extra
that
free
heart
time.
heal up first. We want you
Yeah,
around for some more
yeah,
years.
yeah. All right. Thanks for being on, Jeff, and it's been fun, and we'll have to do this again sometime when we have some more really good news, and
Absolutely.
we'll
Thank you,
get on
Roy.
and talk about it again. And my name is Roy Canterbury. I've been your host today on Arch Talk 101, and we'll see you on the next one. Just remember, go out to Arch Talk 101 Facebook group. Join that group if you're not already a member. There we have information about archery, as well as you can see this podcast. You can watch this podcast as well on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself, as well as you can listen to audio on audible.com. It's a free listen to there, as well as Spotify and other places that you listen to podcasts. So that's where you can get a hold of us. If you want to contact me for any questions, or Jeff for any questions, just leave us a message. And probably the easiest way to get it is to be in the group, because the Arch Talk One on Facebook group, because it's a little easier to find us, and we'll definitely
Sure
see
is.
the we'll see the messages a little quicker, especially if you tag us in your question. We get notified. So we'll catch you on the next one. And remember, we've got some more interviews coming up, as well as watch for that tree stand safety interview I did with Nebraska's Game and Park. That was real informative. I learned a lot talking to them, and I knew quite a bit of safety stuff. But yeah, there's still things I learned that it's like we're gonna have to try them. And one of the things they said before we get out of here is you need to practice hanging on your safety harness and getting back to a place and getting on the ground. So practice that when you have somebody there. What
That makes
happens if you
sense.
fall? They
Yep.
talked about one time a ladder stand, two bucks are coming and fighting and knocked the ladder stand off, knocked the
Oh,
ladder
wow.
stand down because they were fighting and they run it. They just knocked it down. Now he's hanging off his safety harness. How do you get down now? You have no ladder stand to get down on. So stay tuned. There, little quick thing. You got to have a lifeline that you can hook to because you can't get down with one of those.
Yep.
So we'll set you on the next one. It's been a lot of fun, and stay tuned for the rest of them.
All right. Take care, boss.
See ya.